This week, we are talking about another common roadblock to our execution. And yes, remember, when we are talking execution, the actions that we're taking towards our goals, they are typically what we're talking about are those actions. That is the execution. And yet, there's another piece that when we don't catch these roadblocks, it can significantly slow, if not halt, our progress. And what we will tend to do is if we are taking regular action towards a goal or a desired result, and we're not seeing progress, and we're not scanning or aware that there may be a roadblock at play, what we will typically do is we will change our action. Now, when we change our action, either what we're doing or the frequency that we're doing it, and then we start seeing progress, then that was probably the right move. And yet, there are times that we may make that change and we don't see anything different. If you do that and you've not already done a scan for one of these roadblocks, pause and scan. A roadblock can make a huge difference. So, this is part 3 of a 4-part series on common roadblocks to execution. You don't need to watch these in order. Each one of them are standalone, although each one does talk about one common roadblock. So, the roadblock that we're going to talk about today is saying yes too often. Have you ever found yourself in that situation? For me, it's less often now, although I just this morning, as I was journaling, realized, I'm drifting a bit to too many yeses. And when we say yes too often, there are implications. There are 3 specific challenges that generally arise and can be a clue that we're saying yes too often. The first one is that we lose our focus. Our focus becomes diluted. Now, we're not talking about focus. It's really what are our current priorities. And remember, if we have more than 3, we really don't have a priority. So what are the desired results and or specific goals that right now is our focus? When we start saying yes too frequently, we bring on more tasks and projects. So what happens with that is then our focus becomes diffused across a broader band of stuff. When you think about it, at best, there's a lot that we're focused on because there's the day-to-day life in addition to our specific priorities. So when we start onboarding more things, we will tend to lose our focus. The more that we say yes, we will be busy, and yet we will be busy and not productive. It is easy to be busy. Productivity, true productivity, requires our intention and attention. So that's the first challenge with saying yes too often, is we really lose our focus. Progress generally is going to slow on the most important areas. Challenge number 2 with saying yes too frequently. We are likely to begin to feel stress, frustration, and decision fatigue. And where does all of this come from? We've onboarded more onto our plate, so to speak. We're spread thinner. This then can create some stress, some frustration. We generally aren't getting everything done, and we've moved from really very strategic action to most likely we're juggling tasks and projects. This also leads to decision fatigue because we're continuing to loop back around trying to figure out how to fit everything in. So fitting everything in is what leads to that busyness we talked about and not necessarily productivity. So we lose our focus and we then experience some stress, some frustration, and our progress slows significantly. The final challenge is that we will miss opportunities. Being able to take advantage of opportunities, whether they are personal ones like, hey, Mom, can we go and get ice cream this afternoon? Or a friend that calls and says, got time for a cup of coffee. Or perhaps it's a business opportunity that's going to expand our business, increase our revenue. To take advantage of opportunities, be they personal or professional, requires margin and white space. There has to be time in our schedule and in our day to say yes to the opportunities. When we have said yes too frequently, there is usually no white space, and no margin. When that occurs, and even when a great opportunity comes around, we are likely to say, I don't have time. So you can see how the three of these challenges weave together. They're not clear cut, but they're three different areas that we can consider when we're scanning to see if we're not making the progress that we desire. Do we have this roadblock of saying yes too frequently? Is it at play? I find myself getting to this point frequently. It's a lesson that I have to keep relearning, although it keeps getting better. It is very easy for me to say yes. Frequently, it's because I really want to say yes. Other times, it's because the person in front of me is asking me, and I maybe feel I should, or I know it would really make them happy, or it would really help them. None of these are negative things until we then go back and realize the implication of the saying yes too frequently. So, what's our way around this? How do we guard against it? Here's my suggestion. The first one is when someone asks us to do something, be on a committee, help at this, even run and have coffee. The first thing that I've learned is to create space for me to consider my answer. It is very easy in the moment to say yes. In particular, if it's someone that I really want to help out, or if it's something that really does sound interesting, it's easy to say yes in the moment. Then I get back and look at my calendar. I did this recently. I agreed to do some mentoring in a program that I'm involved in. Now, do I want to do it? Absolutely. The challenge is that it's an hour drive one way for me to get to where I'm doing this activity. So by the time I figure in my drive time as well as the actual course, it's the better part of a day. I said yes. I was excited. I wanted to do it. And after I said yes and got to the first week, it's an 8-week commitment. I realized I've just taken almost a full day out of my schedule for the next 8 weeks. Was it my best decision? Not in light of my priorities, to be perfectly honest. It's not a terrible decision, and after I really thought about it, I found a way to make it work. And yet, in that moment, I was enthused and excited and said yes without completely thinking through the implications. So that's the first thing. When someone asks us to do something, pause, put a space in there to do a bit of quick analysis on whether this thing, whatever it is, truly fits in. So that's step one. Don't give an instant answer, either yes or no. So now we've created the space to really think about the answer. So how do we come up with the answer? I have 2 questions that work really well. The first question is, if I say yes, will this thing, whatever it is, will this move me closer to or further from my current priorities? In other words, does this contribute to my priorities? And then the other question is, does it detract from my priorities? Now, I may say that it doesn't move me closer, but it also doesn't move me further away. That just gives me some information in terms of how likely is this to create a focus issue, frustration because it doesn't fit in. And the final question is, if I say yes, what will need to change in my current schedule, calendar, and priorities? Is there something else that I will need to delay? Do I say no to something else? This question really pushes me to my calendar to look at, do I have white space? Do I have margin? If I say yes to this, am I still going to have white space and margin? Now, as you will imagine, I skipped all of that when I said, yes, I'll mentor in this program. I didn't look at my calendar. I was in the moment of enthusiasm and excitement. Like I said, I found a way to make it work, and yet it has impacted my progress towards priorities. it's a chunk of time. So saying yes too often can be easy to drop into, and frequently it's out of our desire, our enthusiasm, and our excitement. And yet, if it's going to broaden our focus, if it's going to eliminate our margin and white space in our calendar and create frustration and stress and lower quality that we have to work harder for, it's probably something we need to say no to. So remember, no is strategic. Yes can be strategic also when we pause long enough to truly evaluate. So that's it for this week. Scan through, make sure you're not saying yes too often. If you are, what adjustments do you need to make? And we'll be back next week with the final episode of our series on the common roadblocks to execution. Bye for now.